Fine Music Breakfast with Annabelle Drumm.
And I hope you're enjoying the music here at Fine Music Breakfast. And looking at the weather, it's currently 19 degrees here in Sydney. And we're looking for a high of 26. In Penrith, it's 17 degrees, looking for a high of 33. And there'll be more smoke today, unfortunately, and a little bit chance of fog, which probably would have cleared up by now, I expect. Tomorrow, very similar temperatures, but we have some lovely wind coming in that's going to hopefully blow away all that smoke. So let's look forward to that. Now, in the studio, I have with me an international superstar violin player. He is a Sony classical artist, a Juno Award winner. He's performed more than 2,000 concerts and recitals all around the world, playing his Stradivarius with orchestras like London's Royal Philharmonic, Berlin Symphony, National Orchestra of Argentina, and the Montreal Symphony. He arrived in Sydney to perform this weekend, and I'd like to welcome to Fine Music, Alexandre da Costa.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you so much.
And I see that you've brought your beautiful Stradivarius here as well.
Yes.
This is something now. How do you find is different to play with this compared to regular violins?
Well, it's a great instrument, of course. Just the history of it is quite magical.
It's from the 1600s?
1701.
1701.
So it's in what we call the golden period for Stradivarius. So the golden period started in 1700 when Stradivarius was making his best instruments, and all the nobles in Europe would just, order incredible, beautiful instruments from him. So I'm very lucky. A good friend of mine from Canada is loaning me this instrument for a whole decade. So I know
what a treat.
It's a bit mine, let's say.
Yours.
A bit mine, yeah, for some time. And I have the pleasure and the honor to play it for different audiences. And this week it's the Sydney audience. I'm very happy to play the Bruch Concerto with the Willoughby Symphony and Maestro Nicholas Milton. So it's going to be a great event.
When you're bringing this Stradivarius through, we'll talk about the concert a bit later. When you're taking it through the airports, I know that airport security can be a nightmare these days for precious instruments being moved from one country to the next. How do you cope with those dreadful people?
Well, I would like to say that it's easy, but it's never easy. It's a little bit of a surprise every time I take the plane. So you have people that really are cultured people, know about the instruments, and they actually chat with me about the Stradivarius. And then when this happens, it's just very easy. And then you have also people that don't know really what it's about and will not understand the value and also the fact that it's very, very fragile. So it's a gamble, but I try to remain calm at all times, which is the really the key for this. And so far, and I touch wood, I haven't had
special wood
too much problem getting by, and I hope it's going to stay like this.
I hope so as well. And you've been doing a lot of travel, as you seem to do all the time. So even I was looking at your calendar, even this month you've been in Quebec, in Colorado, over in Spain as well. So what, out of all the countries that you've been traveling to for over the last year or so, what's been the most surprising?
Well, it's some countries I visit, and I really look forward to my concerts over there. Like, for example, always Australia, of course. But last week I was in Spain, in Seville, which is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It's also a place where culture is extremely important, not necessarily just classical music, but, the flamenco music, and also the architecture is so inspiring. So I feel blessed when I go to these places to just have the opportunity to go work in such an environment, So basically my violin is giving me a free ride to see those incredible places. And then I go to other spots where I know nobody, and then suddenly I meet human beings with whom I connect. And this is what makes those cities or those place is very special. And then I could be looking forward to go back to play with an orchestra or in a venue, just because of those particular people that I met. So and I realized that over the course of the last, let's say, 20 years, I've been traveling a fair bit. I have friends all over the world, and sometimes you can't keep up with the friends and keep writing and keep the connection. But once I arrive in a city that I haven't been visiting for a while, and I just contact my friends, it's always a great reunion, and it's beautiful. So I think I'm very lucky in that sense, and I hope I have the chance to continue traveling like this for a while.
It makes you very much a global citizen, doesn't it?
Yeah, quite.
It's interesting looking at your point of view, because when you're saying about Spain having their culture, that us here in Australia, of course, we have one of the oldest cultures in the world, which seems to be mostly ignored. And then you've got all the rest of us who have sort of migrated over the last couple of 100 years, that we question what the culture is in Australia as to how do we make this up? The Aborigines have been welcoming to us, and even I was at a concert just a few nights ago where they're saying, we are all one. We welcome our brothers and sisters. But then we say, well, how do we represent ourselves to the world in our culture? I mean, what do you see from the outside?
Well, we have the same issues in Canada, I think,
right.
With our
Melting
First
pot.
Nations, exactly. And I think maybe we ought to be a little more sensitive, and maybe it's time for us to integrate all types of cultures and people, and of course, the First Nations are part of this. In Canada, they have beautiful music, and
they're quite like it's North American Indians, aren't they?
Yes, but
Yes.
I'm very pleased to see that, for example, the music associations in Canada have newly created a new prize for the music by First Nations, and it's being included in many national and provincial music events. And so last summer, for example, I did play. I was invited to play a piece of music with some other guests, but we were representatives of every type of music that is actually being consumed in a way in Quebec,
Canada,
including the First Nations music. And this, I think, is very important, because besides rock, pop, and jazz, there is classical, there is music by First Nations. So we have to really think of music as a universal language, of course, but there are many types and many ways to communicate that language.
Lovely answer. Let's have a listen to the piece of music that you have given us as well. So this is La Vida Breve, I guess?
La Vida Breve.
Breve, right, okay, because I'm getting confused here, because otherwise I think of La and I think of French, but it's not at all. Okay, it's a Spanish name,
Yeah.
and it's by Manuel de Falla. And what can you tell us a little bit about this piece of music?
Well, this is absolutely wonderful music. I was saying that music has a language, but definitely this is a piece of music in Spanish. You can hear the flamenco, the roots, the folk music in Spain. So it's beautiful.
Wonderful. Let's enjoy. Very gorgeous piece, La Vida Breve, by Manuel de Falla, and that was directed from the violin by Alexandre da Costa, who I have with me here in the studio, working with the Vienna Symphony Orchestra. Such a lusty piece of music.
Absolutely.
It must be fun also when you're directing the orchestra, you can take it. Do you find you bend it around tempi-wise?
Yes, well, I love play and conduct with orchestras, because I'm part of the orchestra, yet I am the leader as well. So and it's more than just being a soloist. So really, this is a form of communicating. What I have to say that is my favorite. I also conduct now. I'm a music director of the Longueuil Symphony back in Canada. But of course, my violin is the center of my professional and personal life, actually. And so I would never stop playing.
The
as
center
a
of your
soloist.
personal life, really?
Yeah, well, I have a family. I have a kid, 5 years old boy. I'm very, very proud of, and everything. But the violin is actually part of our daily life. My violin is always out and practicing. My son sees me play so many hours on my violin daily. So I think, yes, it's become more than just an instrument or a tool.
It is a member of the family,
Absolutely,
isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, you have a conductor you're working with, of course, this weekend,
Yes.
Nicholas Milton, who is wonderful as well. And you're working with the Willoughby Symphony. So this is going to be Saturday night and also Sunday afternoon. And the program is called Titan. And you'll be performing as the Bruch Concerto.
Yes, which is a great favorite because I think I've played this piece maybe 120 times all over the world.
Wow.
Since 20 years or even more than that. But it's always a challenge because there's always new things that I find that I analyze from this concerto. I want to do things differently. I want to mature with the piece. So for me, it's every time I play this piece is important, and I invest all of myself in the music.
It's such a gorgeous piece as well, very popular.
Yes,
and
yes.
and lusty, like the last,
Absolutely.
like the Spanish one we heard. So this is a wonderful concert. I hope you can come along to this and see Alexandre da Costa Saturday night at 7 p.m. or Sunday at 2 p.m. at the Concourse, Chatswood, with the Willoughby Symphony Orchestra. And tickets are from $15 up to $51. Very reasonable, and it's definitely worth seeing. Their final concert for the year. Thank you so much for coming in today, Alexandre.
Thank you very much.
Okay.